Analyst, thank you very much for being with us tonight on Nile TV International and this special edition. And I'm honored to be having with me over the phone Mr. Sherif Rezq, the political analyst. Mr. Sherif, thank you very much once again for being with us on the special edition.
Pleasure is mine.
First of all, we were speaking to Dr. Marianne Girgis, and she stated that the Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi will be leaving to Russia to be meeting the Russian President Vladimir Putin. How did he see the latest developments and the updates regarding the negotiations that could have taken place between the U.S. and the Iranian officials in Pakistan? However, they did not succeed. How do you see the future of those negotiations with Russia entering the fray?
There is always a framework for what we call negotiations. Negotiation needs some sort of flexibility. It has to be a win-win situation. There has to be some concessions from every party. And actually, President Trump is convinced that he can play all cards. And he does not believe that Iranians has got any cards. That's why he's attacking so severely, so that he can actually force them to accept his own terms. And then he would declare victory. And that's the whole problem. But if we think about President Trump as if he's thinking strategically, or about his own people, or about the results of the war, or about the future of the Middle East, or about his allies in the Gulf, he's not thinking about all of that. All what he's thinking about is Trump. And that's the real issue. So we need to think in terms of psychology, in terms of his background, in terms of his attitude, in terms of his approach to life. I mean, it's so sad that we have such leaders in the world.
Do you think that the hit in popularity that he had witnessed, Donald Trump, of course, in the United States domestically and even globally with his allies, as you mentioned, from NATO, for example, from Britain, France and Germany, who refused to be participating in this war, from the European Union in general, do you think that this will be changing his mind for the near future to be stopping the war as soon as possible and cutting the losses?
Oh, unless he's forced to give up his attitude, he will never give up his attitudes. He has to be forced, either by like the people around him, the consultants, if he's consulting anybody. And you know, basically, international relations is based on trust. And all the decisions he has made since he took over, since he got into office, are worrying to the allies and to the other party, to China, Russia, and other nations that are not really in good terms with the USA, like in a competition thing. But they're not enemies, but they are competing very much. So this kind of trust is kind of unstable. And that's why we cannot find like unified decision by the Western world, as well as Canada, as well as Japan supporting what he's doing. So I think it's chaotic, and I think he's celebrating chaos. Trump is not really somebody who is into stability and peace and calm and quiet, because these things he will not be glorified in. Like, he will only be present if there is chaos. And that's really worrying about what's going to happen next in the Middle East, because we are suffering a lot because of what he's doing, even in the Middle East.
Yes, and speaking about the mediation efforts of Egypt today, we have seen phone calls being conducted by Foreign Minister Dr. Badr Abdulati with his counterparts from Qatar, Mohammed bin Abdurrahman Al Thani, and from Iran, Abbas Araghchi. How did you see the efforts of the Foreign Minister for today to be understanding the latest round of negotiations and quite possibly ending the war as soon as possible?
I mean, the Egyptian Foreign Affairs, since Boutros Ghali and Asmat Abmegid and Amr Moussa, we've had long history in mediating and negotiating. But I think this kind of discourse is not working with Trump very much. So luckily he might listen to some of this. But we cannot predict, when we're talking about Trump and the U.S. policies, we cannot predict much. But maybe sooner or later things will go down a bit. We don't know, actually. You cannot expect.
Yes, on Friday we have seen the participation of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in the informal European Union summit in Nicosia in Cyprus, and the warm reception that he had received from the Cypriot President Nikos Christodoulidis. And of course the informal European summit was held alongside other partners from the region, from the Arab world, from the Middle East, including Egypt. How did you see the collective stance of the participating countries, and more specifically the stance of Egypt regarding the war in the Middle East that took place for the past couple of months?
I think that the Egyptian foreign policy has always been clear. Like, we are against any kind of division, we're against any kind of interference. We've always been against the interference of Iran in Lebanon and Syria and Yemen and Iraq. We have been against the division of Syria. So, I mean, the stand of the Egyptian Foreign Ministry is always clear. The thing is, we need to communicate in a way that Trump would understand, which I'm not really sure right now that Trump would respond to what kind of discourse. He trusts, I think, the expertise of the Egyptian Foreign Ministry and the President of Sisi, but would he listen? That's something I cannot really assure.
Do you think that such a meeting that took place on Friday could be putting pressure one way or another, especially that it was attended by several European leaders, including the French President, the German Prime Minister as well, could be putting pressure on the American President to be stopping the war, as they will not be participating in it anytime soon?
It's hard for somebody who is egotistical as it gets, as Trump, that he would say, I'm not the winner. I mean, it's hard. I mean, he wouldn't even consider France and Germany and Italy as powers. He would consider them lower, very much lower than the U.S. military power. And he always quoted that we are the most powerful nation in the world, the most powerful nation in the world, which is really absurd, because you are not in power to create chaos. You are in power to create stability. The cost of war is immense. I don't know. It's really incomprehensible. I think everybody in the Western world are waiting for Trump to leave so that they can have reasonable, logical talks with the American administration.
Yes, Mr. Sherif Rezq, the political analyst, thank you very much for being with us tonight on Nile TV International and this special coverage.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Anytime. Bye. And this brings us to the end of this special edition coming your way from Nile TV International regarding the latest developments in the Middle East. Thank you for watching and goodbye.